The Diamondbacks really as a staff are getting it done.
Yeah, that is true.
12-3. 12-3. And if they win today, they sweep the series, get to 500. Corey Lavello doing things, but come on.
Isn't that the formula? I always go back to the days of when the Dodgers, back in even like the 70s and 80s, like the formula is if you can get enough starting pitching to do a quality job, you're always in every single game. You're not relying on the 10-9 win.
That's how I look at the stand. Like a perfect example is the Minnesota Twins. Can their starters?
Yeah.
Can they do this for 6 months?
Yeah.
Because offensively, I always think it comes back to the pitching.
So, Mad Bum, interesting for me.
Get in there.
Look, first of all, stop this here, Lucas, because this is this year. So you see where the Logan Gilbert, best ERA in the game, Madison Bumgarner. You know how old Madison Bumgarner is?
35.
31.
What?
You know how old he was when he first got to the big leagues?
I was there.
How old was he?
20, 21?
19, he got called up, and then the following year, he's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And he's been dominating, and in the World Series, and doing his thing, right? From 12 and 14 and
what a big
10.
presence, man.
Big presence, big guy. Doesn't say a whole lot, but gets it done. So, yeah, cut to the madness. I'm getting to something that's near and dear to my heart. So if you go back, as I say, like, who was Madison Bumgarner? His delivery, and I know you're going to talk about this, D-Row, you can see how unorthodox. This was the thing, like, wow, domination, World Series wins as they won every single of the year. That wild card shutout was amazing. You watch his delivery, that right to left slinging, low three-quarter, big dudes coming at you. The World Series, are you kidding me? What he did, not only in Game 5 and then coming back in Game 7 and just completely one-man wrecking crew. His ERA was .4, 2-0 in the World Series, and then comes back in relief. If you remember this, it was like 4 innings of shutout ball.
Forget that.
And then here's the moment, right? Pablo Sandoval World Championship. Every other year they were winning 10, 12, and 14. He wins the MVP for the World Series. Had some injuries, quirky, remember the motorbike injury and
roping cattle.
His hand, he hurt. So then he comes over, Arizona in 20. Not the same. And I always stop right here for a second.
It's funny, real quick, because me and Madison hit it off when we were in San Francisco. After this start, this was his first start, Diamondbacks.
Yep.
He called me from the clubhouse as he was icing his arm. And he was like, what did you see on TV? Because he knows I was watching the game. I shoot him straight. And I was like, it just doesn't look like you have life on your heater. And he said he was concerned about it. I don't know if coming out of spring training, you come out with dead arm, but he felt like, man, my heater, even in those Giants videos, his heater had like late life, even though it didn't light up the radar gun at any time. And he just felt like he was throwing just rosin bags that weren't finishing.
So it's great you mentioned that, because velocity, as we watch, isn't always indicative of what the hitter sees.
Yeah.
And I know you faced him with respect to what you just said. So it might show 88, but he might have been having that little extra giddy-up life early on and getting by guys. Stop right here for a second. All right, so you know that I threw cutters, right?
Yep,
So
Silvio Veras.
Is that who that is?
That's who that is.
Atlanta Braves. Okay, so I had to do an Atlanta Brave thing for you. I wanted to pull you up, but you hit a home run off me.
Yeah, 2-1 changeup. Got him.
What the heck was I throwing a changeup? All right, so here, let's run this. So what's happened, Madison Bumgarner, and I love this, is because this is left-handed pitchers, right-handed batters. I'm going to show you some lefties. When velocity comes down and you start throwing a little bit less velocity, you start needing late movement. Stop. CC did a great job with it. But if you just watch this little rip, watch where the catchers are set up, right-handed batters. I did it out of necessity because when I was younger, I threw 95, 96, 97. Velocity goes down. I was in an era with guys doing things that every extended arm seemed like a home run back in the 90s and early 2000s. So this window, go ahead and play CC's cutter. So I'm trying to get cutters that are inside. Now, this is a visual. It's a little bit left center, so it's hard to really see that late movement. But all you need is a very slight vertical movement and some horizontal. Whew. Now, we know Nestor Cortez, right? This is what he's been doing. Stop right there. Well, no, keep playing. I'm sorry, Lucas. John Lester. Lester always threw a cutter, but as he got older, you want late movement. And why do you do that? Stop right here. So Historically, you have pitchers that lefty, righty, fastballs away, changeups away, two-seamer, maybe a backdoor curveball. So as the righty, he's starting to say, okay, the ball's out over. And now, if I don't have enough to four-seam dot you in, because you can get to that, I need something that keeps boring, right?
Yep.
Something that either A, I get the barrel out and I whack it foul really hard, or it's just hard. It's hard to work that.
Yeah, weak contact.
So I love this pitch. Johnny Lester, did it really well. Wade Miley, and I'm showing the guys like, look, the varying speeds and breaks on this is 86 miles an hour. He's tying up major league hitters and making them look foolish. All right, Mad Bum. This guy, stop. Dave Righetti was my mentor. Still to this day, love him. When I first got to the big leagues,
played an integral role with Madison out in San Francisco.
And Rags just said, you talk about like a man.
Man.
Right? Like, just give me the ball. I got this. Leave me alone. That's what Madison Bumgarner, I always, saw in him. Go ahead and play this. So his cutter usage is up almost 50%. So it's the same delivery. Cutter, they're even middle. Now, stop right there. So the unique thing about what he does, he's on third base side. And there's a reason for that. When you're on, depending upon how you want to, where's my camera? How you want to utilize what's called east and west, right? I have a 24-inch pitcher's rubber. I'll use home plate. So I used to be on this side because I was trying to get the ball to look like it was on the plate as long as possible, but it was going to end up inside the last 10, 12 feet. And I had this break. Mad Bum, because of where his arm is, if he's over here, he's going to lay, you can see where he is. He's kind of this direction.
You'd almost lose an arm side.
You lose an arm side and it's middle. Thank you. So instead of, come back here 1 second real quick. Instead of being here like I was, he moves over this way and he's a little bit lower. I know it's a home plate, but he's on this side, and therefore the illusion is going to make it seem as though it's on the plate longer, and then here comes that late break, which is really awesome. Brent Strom is the pitching coach. There's not a doubt in my mind, haven't spoken to anybody, haven't read the article.
I'm sure he's had such a huge impact with these guys.
Yes. All right, I want to stop right here. Lucas. All right, so what does all this mean? He's not just only throwing cutters. One to go to Yachty or Molina at bat. So put a bow on all this whole thing. Here's an at bat of typically what Mad Bum is doing. Yes, you're conscious of movement, but mostly you're conscious of command and control. Go ahead. Fastball kind of ended up cutting. He was away. There's a changeup. Yachty looking away. Here's a curveball that's 77 slower. He throws a fastball on the outside part of the plate. A cutter, I'm sorry, back this up. So it was backdoor cutter and then fastball away. Stop right here. When you get enough, now he's gone from 30% to 50% cutters, and you get right-handers conscious of this, this is why you do that. A, you could jam a guy, but in addition to that,
start getting no swing.
You get that. So you can't cover both, right? I can't cover this and that. So he's utilizing the ability to go east and west and also north-south, because that cutter he's throwing now, he's also throwing it up in the zone way more than he ever did before. And there's no question about it. This is all done by design.
Wow.
All right, so here, it's straight up. D-Row, you're looking right here. If you just look at the evolution of this cutter, 34, 51%. Fastball usage, why do you think you're doing that? Because if you're standing on the mound, don't think you have like a bullet that can blow it by a guy. Why am I going to, fastball down and away. Boy, I hope I hit down and away. So lessen that usage.
You know what's crazy for me? Being
curveball usage goes down and the cutter goes up. One last thing before you start, because this is where I hope people, who are hearing this. The cutter for me evolved from a slider. I mentioned Dave Righetti. It went from Ron Guidry to Dave Righetti to me, how I threw a slider. Because I was a fastball curveball guy coming up in the minors. So I threw a cutter, I threw a slider that eventually I started throwing the heck out of it. And I had a moment in Toronto, 1995, and I remember that it was against the Rangers. After the game, Dean Palmer and a few of the guys came over and said, when did you start throwing a cutter? I'm like, no, it's a slider. He goes, no, that's a cutter. So the beauty of a cutter is, and this is where you're seeing it with a Wade Miley or what Johnny Lester did or CC and now Mad Bum, and he's always thrown it, he's just thrown it more, is that it's more than one pitch. I could throw it 89, get behind it, pow. I could get a little off center, maybe get a little bit of a down and in break to it, like I used to throw to Derek Jeter, because he'd swing over it. Alex Rodriguez or Vladimir Guerrero, I'd try to keep it upstairs so it was true this way as opposed to this way. So you can manipulate one pitch into being 3 or 4 pitches.
3 or 4 pitches.
And he's been doing that.
I think what's amazing to me and what's made him so effective, being his teammate for a couple years, watching him, obviously the confidence is through the roof. He trusts himself, but he's willing to reinvent himself. The one thing I noticed in that Yachty rip is the fact that all his pitches kind of morph into one. He'd be one of the toughest guys to chart for me because I can't tell the difference between his two-seamer, his cutter, his curve. It's all kind of right in that whole mishmash. And he presents almost this.
Yeah.
So you see, he shows you ball here, and then it's ball here. So there's a lot going in. It's almost like facing Dontrelle Willis when he first came up. There was a lot of coming at you. The stuff wasn't like blow your doors off, but like.
Did you like that? I mean, was it if you were to coach that because of the difficult aspect of deception?
No, I love that. I just think for me, there wasn't too many at-bats I had in the big leagues where I went back to the dugout not knowing what pitch I swung at.
Yeah.
I pretty much saw everything.
Yeah. What was that? I think it was a cutter.
And with him, I went back going, is that his two-seamer? Is that his, what is that?
Yeah. Let me say this real quick. The sterilization of deliveries now. I see more starters. Ready to get in here.
Half the guys that started last night
they go like
are
this.
there.
They go like this, and then they go like this. Like there's nothing. I'm not showing you anything crazy. Well, Nestor, you be careful now, Ruffalo. I'll go over there. And
I know what you're saying.
You know, I mean, like Nestor Cortez, right? He's not throwing 95. He's got all sort of dipsy doodle, and he's deceptive. Guys can hit 95 to 100. They can hit sliders that are middle of the plate. They can get me over curveballs.
Cut to the madness.
Cut to the madness.